Yeah, what's up, Usos and Usettes? It's Wrestling Uncensored. Tonight on the show, we're reviewing Smackdown, we're watching Rampage. Sami Zayn's on all the shows. What's he doing at WrestleMania? WrestleMania is 5 weeks away. Let's do it. Yes, indeed. Let's get Johnny in here. Johnny's in here. We're 5 weeks away from WrestleMania, Johnny. We're watching AEW Rampage. It's wrestling season.
It's pretty interesting for Sami Zayn right now. I mean, starts Raw and SmackDown. Like, he's not the main event of WrestleMania, but he's a highly focused character right now. If not one of the most highest focused characters right now.
He's on TV a lot.
Well, they're giving him a huge push. I don't know if you noticed, too. Like, I noticed this quite obviously. Like, it's just, you see all the Canadians that got such great receptions and feel like you could use that momentum to help elevate their characters. They pretty much have all lost, but Sami, since the Elimination Chamber. Like, they had Edge lose the main event of Raw. Natty got destroyed tonight as well. So let's just, destroy all that possible momentum they could have. But let's keep Sami's going at least.
Well, that's something. No Canadian hotter than Sami Zayn right now in the WWE, right? Super chat. And he's doing well.
Oh, keeps him special. That's good, though. I mean, and in my opinion, like, that's what needs to be. Like, he needs to be, like, one of the hottest guys right now. I mean, tag team titles, it's going to be great. And if you want to push him as a main eventer, he's got to stay, up in the main event scene.
And I think that his stuff on Raw and his promo on SmackDown, they were the two best segments on each show. He's doing the best
Easily.
stuff.
Yeah, easily. No question. I mean, obviously it's to say that Raw and SmackDown, not very good this week.
Mm-hmm.
However, not very surprising after coming off such the high that the Elimination Chamber was. And I think we'll also be a little biased. We were at SmackDown and Elimination Chamber, so it's a better feeling when you're there live. But this definitely felt like a huge letdown. But the Sami segments on both Raw and SmackDown, best segments we saw this week from WWE.
Yeah, and I want to get into those segments. Want to give a shout-out to Grim Skull, dropping a super chat. He's now the super chat leader. He says, if you're not spending your evening with Ringside Report Network, you're just wrong. I agree with that. Strong statement.
Well, some people, it's in the morning, like for our buddy Andy, like it's really early for him. So, not really late night for him. Like he's like asleep more likely right now.
Well, he can watch it in the evening time, his time. It's his choice. It's on YouTube. A lot of replay value on Wrestling Uncensored, Johnny North. Don't just think about the live viewers. A lot of people replaying this show. Shout out to CSL Lauren. He's here live. He's here live every week out in Côte St. Luc. Shout out to Lauren. Sami Zayn doing a great job this week. Sami Zayn on Raw, doing something with Kevin Owens. Sami Zayn on SmackDown, getting involved with the Usos. He's involved in two different things that you expect to converge at WrestleMania with Sami and Kevin against the Usos, but we're not there yet, right? We're not there yet with Sami with Kevin. And we're not there yet with even Jay and Jimmy Uso necessarily on the same page, as we saw tonight. Where do you want to start? I want to start with Sami Zayn. Let's start with the beginning with Raw, and then we'll get to the SmackDown segment, and then we'll get to everything else. Because I think Sami Zayn right now is the most compelling character in the WWE. We do have some news that we need to break down tonight. John Cena is going to be coming back to Raw on March the 6th, probably to set up a match with Austin Theory for WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar is going to be on Raw coming up Monday night to address a challenge from Omos at WrestleMania, which is interesting, which we'll definitely get to. Carmella's going to wrestle Asuka on Raw. Becky Lynch and Lita will wrestle Damage Control for the women's tag team titles on Monday night as well. And Miz has some sort of secret he wants to reveal. I don't know if we'll touch on that because who cares about the Miz. But then on SmackDown next week, we got Ronda and Shayna against Natty and Tegan Nox. Ronda's going to wrestle next week. Roman Reigns will be on SmackDown next week, not on SmackDown tonight. And Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley set for next week on SmackDown. Rhea Ripley, by the way, and Charlotte Flair will likely main event night 1 of WrestleMania. Michael Cole even said tonight on the broadcast, I don't know if you noticed this one, but he said Cole versus Charlotte is 5 weeks from tomorrow. He didn't say, Rhea versus Charlotte, not Cole. Michael Cole said that Rhea versus Charlotte 5 weeks from tomorrow. So he's saying 5 weeks from tomorrow, like on a Saturday. He was specific. He didn't say in 5 weeks. He said 5 weeks from tomorrow. So Michael Cole kind of gave it away, letting us know that it's going to be on night 1. And you got to figure it's going to main event, right? So that's news as well this week.
Well, not really surprising when you think about it. I mean, last year, Charlotte versus Ronda was going to be the main event until Stone Cold Steve Austin decided he was going to wrestle. So that kind of changed things up a little bit. They have to understand that. I think everyone understood that. So that's going to happen. Like, The Rock didn't show up this year, so they get a spot now. So that's what's happened pretty much.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the legend that's going to return is going to be John Cena this year for the WrestleMania show. Do you think we see Stone
Lita
Cold
too, right?
in a physical, what?
Lita is going to probably WrestleMania, right?
And Trish Stratus, I guess, possibly.
Maybe something that's not really completely unraveled yet, but it seems some sort of four corners tag like they usually traditionally do. I can see it going down.
We were hearing rumblings about Stone Cold at one point, but it doesn't seem like there's any movement there.
If we get an appearance, I think at this point that'd be pretty cool, and maybe it'd be awesome if we get him next year to wrestle.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's only getting older. I don't know.
Well, it's all how he feels too. I mean, if he doesn't feel like he's up for it, this year, then hope maybe next year. Like The Rock too. I mean, you get The Rock and Stone Cold back for WrestleMania. That's a huge night.
I feel like if they didn't get The Rock this year to do the match with Roman, what's the point? I don't know if there's a need.
It still works. Like, I mean, obviously it'd be better now. I agree, but hey, it could still work next year.
Mm-hmm. Watching AEW Rampage right now, the Young Bucks just beat a team. I don't even know. Who did they beat?
It was Aussie Open.
Aussie Open. What are they doing there?
Because they're in the tag team, I think, Battle Royal that they have or something.
Another one.
To see who makes it to the Four Corners match for the tag team titles.
One. They just did that.
Yeah, another one.
They're doing it again.
Another one.
And now the Elite is being surrounded by the House of Black. The lights went out. The House of Black surrounded them. Lights go back out, and then the House of Black disappears.
We gotta wait for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, probably gonna be the House of Black, Murphy, King, and is it not Buddy Murphy? Buddy Matthews, they call him.
Buddy Matthews is his name.
Malachi Black and Brody King against Kenny and the Bucks. Some Kenny news this week. Kenny might be a free agent. Interesting. People talking about Kenny going to WWE. I don't know about that. But you never know.
Didn't Meltzer report that him and the Bucks re-signed or something, or they got extended? Not re-signed, but they got extended? I thought Meltzer reported that.
I think Kenny got time extended on his contract because he was hurt. So he's possibly, I think that's what Meltzer reported, that his contract was supposed to run out in January, but now it's got extra time added till November. And the Bucks contract may run out at the end of the year as well.
So it's not going to happen, next week. They're not leaving.
No. But, I mean, those are big talents that you would expect would get big money from either company for a new deal. So interesting.
Right, but CM Punk could potentially be back before then, and that's really what we all want to see. So as long as they get that done before they leave, that's fine.
It's just Johnny doesn't care. Yeah, I mean they can go wherever they want. I think the Bucks and Kenny, or the Bucks or Kenny in WWE would be a lot of fun. But them staying in AEW would be fine too. I think either way, wherever they're going to get paid, right?
Well, you can understand like the way Cody's been used, and it's like, well, maybe they would be used in the same kind of way. Like Cody's pushed right to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny, that'd be pretty amazing for him. The Bucks as well. So there's a good example right there for you.
Yeah, it's a possibility. It's definitely possible. We'll see. We'll see what the deal is with Kenny. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing him in WWE at this point. Wouldn't be the worst thing. He'd have some
Again,
cool
let's
matches there.
Let's just do the Punk thing, and then he can go move on if he wants. Get that done first, though.
Kenny versus Punk, or what do you need to see? Kenny and the Bucks against Punk and FTR?
All of it. Definitely Punk versus Kenny 1-on-1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely a trios match. Yeah, just do everything.
What if we never get it, John? Because that's a distinct possibility too, right?
That would be highly disappointing. I mean, it's kind of been building since last September, so we kind of need
in a
this
wrestling
in a sense.
way. It's not really been building. It's been building in the kind of rumors and dirt sheets and stuff for months now, but it's not been building on their TV in any way.
Well, for me anyways, I found that was the best thing I saw last year, was just that press conference. So now that's all I want to see is that match. That's the most anticipated match for me.
Which one? But what's the match? The one match.
Oh, it can be the one. It can be a trios match. As long as it's Punk versus the Elite in some capacity, I'm all for it.
Punk versus Matt Jackson.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
Yeah.
Isn't he the one who got the black eye or something?
I don't know. I thought that was Nick.
Either way.
I think that you're right, that it would be great. It would be big money for AEW if they could get that happening, but I don't know if they can get CM Punk. I don't know if the Bucks and Kenny want to be involved in anything with CM Punk. And if Tony Khan comes to them and says, hey, guys, you want to wrestle CM Punk? They might say, well, we got this offer from Triple H, and we're going to say no to you, Tony Khan. I don't know. I don't know if the Bucks want to do it. It doesn't seem like the Bucks are wanting to do it.
I mean, it's what the people want to see the most. It's going to make the most money, so. I mean, you got to go where the money is at. They're going to get pushed for it, at least.
Yeah, I mean, they should, right? That's the big match that a lot of people want to see. Punk against the Elite in some sort of capacity. But I think FTR would be a good part in it, because Punk, against three guys doesn't really make sense. But FTR's contract is up in like a month, right? So who knows where they wind up.
It's interesting, but I don't know if you heard Dax's podcast. Like, there's interesting matches in WWE. There's interesting matches in Japan. Because I guess Okada and Tanahashi are going to team up together now.
Yeah, I heard him talk about that.
Right. So, I mean, it really comes down to what's the best offer. So if, the offer is Punk and FTR against the Elite, that might be too tempting to pass up.
We'll see. We'll see what Tony Khan can cook up in the next few months, but the next few months are going to be crucial for AEW, right? Crucial.
Double or Nothing should be huge, I think.
No buzz.
Well, we're going into Revolution right now. We're not Double or Nothing yet.
Right. But Revolution, okay. Double or Nothing. When
Well,
is that?
I'm excited for Revolution now. I mean, MJF and Bryan Danielson, like that is incredible. That promo this past week, like I am sold completely on Revolution.
Yeah, what
Just
a
to
promo.
see that match.
My God. Yes, for that match, but everything else, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's an Iron Man match. I mean, are you really paying for anything else? Not really. I mean, you're really paying for the one match.
I mean, I've been paying, paying and watching and tuning in and whatever to see Bryan Danielson for the past, 15, 20 years now at this point. You know what I mean?
You do one more time, at least.
Yeah, of course. I hope so. Many more times. He's the main reason I watch AEW. He's the main reason I watch pro wrestling. Bryan Danielson. Why wouldn't he be? He's the best damn pro wrestler in the world. Maybe the greatest of all time.
In discussion, that's for sure.
For me, it's him and Brett. And for as long as I've said Brett is number one, at this point in the game, I'm starting to wonder, maybe Bryan Danielson is number one. Damn close. And that's how good Bryan Danielson is. Because I'm a guy who watches wrestling, and I'm a guy who loves Bret Hart. But Bryan Danielson, man, he's special. Definitely the best wrestler of his generation. That includes, all these guys that we're talking about tonight. The CM Punks, the Sami Zayns, the Kevin Owens. I put Bryan Danielson several steps above all of them. Roman Reigns, everybody. John Cena, Randy Orton, name them. Bryan Danielson is above them. It's my opinion.
Well, I think you have to at least, acknowledge the fact that Roman, in terms of box office, like it's a bigger draw than Bryan Danielson. I'm sorry, but it's just
right now
the way it is. Like, right, but it was during that run. Bryan Danielson was part of that run where Roman was on top. He was just one of those guys that he took down twice, maybe even 3 times.
Yeah, I think that shows how valuable Bryan Danielson is. They had to throw him into that WrestleMania match to make it more interesting. They had Edge. They had Roman Reigns. They're like, we need something. We need to make this better. How about the best guy in the company, Bryan Danielson? They got him. They made it much better. Much better. Man, he's great.
Edge and Roman still had a fantastic match at Money in the Bank, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Not as good as the WrestleMania match with Bryan Danielson, though.
It's different kind of match. It's a 3-way. It's totally different, though.
Yeah, usually
No
one-on-one
DQ.
is better. But the 3-way was better.
Usually you don't get double pinned. Like, that was a rough way to lose.
Good question from Matthew Lincoln on Facebook. Says, how confident are you in Cena beating Theory at Mania? I'm starting to think that Cena will not beat Theory at Mania.
Finally.
I think Theory's going to beat him. Yeah, I mean, at this point, it just makes sense. The way they've built Theory, he's going to find a way to win.
I'm glad we're talking about this because I had a thought about the way the match should go. Because WrestleMania, like the 2 nights, it's going to be really long. So in order for this match to stand out and for people to really remember it, I think Theory's got to go out there and pretty much just squash Cena. That way people will remember it and be like, wow, like Theory just destroyed Cena. Cena didn't do anything. And let's face it, Cena can't really do much anyways. We saw what he did on Smackdown in that tag match. He's not exactly what he was before. So I think it'd be better for Theory. It'd be better for the future WWE if he just goes in there and destroys him.
If he does that, Cena's going to have to come back on him at some point down the road.
Fine.
But
okay.
if they have like a match, like a 12-minute match, that's Cena, doing his offense and whatever. It doesn't have to be great. Cena beating up Theory and Theory finding a way to win. hits whatever, low blow, 8-count down, and he beats him 1, 2, 3, right?
Boring.
I don't
Okay.
think he needs to squash a John Cena at WrestleMania. I mean, cut the match in half, make it 6 minutes, whatever. I don't think you need to squash Cena at Mania because Theory can go on the rest of his career reminding you. You're going to remember that Austin Theory beat John Cena at WrestleMania because he's going to tell you in every promo, I beat John Cena at WrestleMania. Because that's an accomplishment. So, I don't think you need to squash Cena. I don't think it's a good idea to squash Cena because, you want to use him again in the future. And if you completely have him beaten down by Theory quickly, to use him again properly, you're going to have a rematch with Theory where Cena wins, and I don't think that's necessary. I'd rather have Cena just have a one-off with Theory, lose to Theory, pass the torch in a way, and have Theory talk about it all the time. And then when Cena comes back for whatever, he comes back against somebody else and has nothing to do with Theory.
I mean, that's fine. It's probably what's going to happen, but I don't think people will be talking about the match that much because it's just going to be a typical Cena match and we saw Theory this week, a typical Theory match, which sadly at this point, it's nothing that really stands out. If you want a match that people are really going to look back on and be like, wow, I can't believe this happened, you need that kind of result. And you've seen it before in the past. Cena's come back from stuff like this. He's been squashed by Brock at SummerSlam, completely dominated. But he came back afterwards. He lost the WWE Championship in a squash to Brock. Still came back from that.
Yeah, but that's when he was active.
Right.
He's not active.
You can build up. You can build this up now instead.
Well, I don't think they're going to do that to Cena anyway.
They won't.
John.
They won't.
No.
They protect him too much, but that's what will get people talking.
I think Theory beating Cena will get people talking. Matthew Lincoln doesn't think that there's a point in having Cena on the cover of the video game if he doesn't win his 17th championship. That's right. He's a 16-time champion, and he could win a 17th championship, but it's not a world title. It's a U.S. title. It doesn't really count. 16-time world champion.
He's won more than 17 championships.
Yeah.
He's won the tag title so many times over. He's never won the IC title.
Yeah.
So you can say that he did never the Grand Slam champion, but I mean it's world championships, like you said.
Yeah, that's it. The 16-time record with him and Flair is the world championships. The U.S. title doesn't really mean anything. And I don't think Cena coming back to beat Theory and win the U.S. title makes any kind of sense, because what's Cena going to do? Come back and have a little run with the U.S. title?
Right.
It's not happening.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
No. Why would Cena win a belt? Cena's not sticking around. Cena's there to do the job to Theory. I thought if they did the match without a belt, it might be more in question as to who would win. Right?
Yeah.
I thought they might do it without the belt, but now that Theory is still U.S. champion going into WrestleMania, you think, well, Cena's not going to be a U.S. champion again, so Theory's got to win. Which kind of works against them, You want to have that question going into the match, like who's going to win, Cena or Theory? But if the U.S. title's on the line, no one really expects Cena to stick around and defend that belt. Maybe some people do, but I don't. I don't think most people would, right? So.
Well, I think it just goes back to because Cena used to do the open challenges, and people love that when Cena did that. That was one of the best parts of Cena late in his run, so they'd love for that to come back. So there's that little bit of value that has, I think. But I agree with you. To me, it just kind of makes it more predictable that Theory's going to win. But I'm not looking forward to this match, really. And if it's over quick, I'd be very happy, actually.
I'm watching something that looks like a total mess on Rampage.
There was a mystery attacker or something? Or was that Jamie Hayter?
It was Jamie
I
Hayter
think
coming out to
okay.
defend the babyface Willow Nightingale. Tony Storm just beat Willow Nightingale, and then Tony Storm and Saraya were going to spray paint her. But then Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter made the save, and Ruby Soho came out for some reason. It just looked like a mess.
Well, we have that 3-way they announced for the pay-per-view.
Ugh.
I think that's a good match. That's a really good match. I'm looking forward to that.
Hayter, Soho, and Saraya.
You had Saraya right, and then you switched back for some reason. I don't know why you can't
Saraya. I will never get her name right. It doesn't matter what her name is.
It does, but regardless, that's a good match. Like that's a very interesting 3-way. I'm looking forward to that match.
I'm not so much. Who's attacking Daddy Ass? Oh, it's Jay Lethal and friends. Now? Jeff Jarrett.
It's just
the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass are getting attacked by Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal and those guys.
There's chaos on Rampage. Figure 4.
What?
And people love to use the figure 4 just randomly. Like
backstage figure 4. That's interesting. Jay Lethal putting the figure 4 on Max Caster right now on AEW Rampage. What's the main event of this show?
Like, was it something with Dustin and Keith Lee? I saw them hyped for something.
Ugh. You know this is the B show because MJF never talks on it.
Well, they had the Bucks on.
Yeah, but so what? They're the Trios champions right now. They're not that important in AEW at the moment.
And for some reason, I guess Jade's mainly on this show.
Yeah, Rampage is her show for some reason. Because I guess she's the TBS champion and this show's on No, wait, this show's on TNT.
Right.
It's the TBS's Dynamite, right? So why is it?
Because they switch it. Like when they're focusing on the women's title, that goes on Dynamite, but when they're not, it's on Rampage. So it's flip-flops a little bit.
Lance Archer's coming out. He's still in AEW. Is he in the main event? Maybe it's him and... Nope.
Is that Jake? Oh, Jake's back.
Jake the Snake is with him all of a sudden. Lance Archer's wrestling some guy. He just backdropped on the ramp. Looks like a jobber.
Oh, Jake's looking old. But Jake's also in the WWE program, I think tomorrow, no? Or Sunday?
Yeah, they've got an A&E biography they were promoting on Smackdown with him, and here he is on Rampage. All right.
Interesting.
Cool. Good for Jake. Double dipping.
I think this match might be over very quick, it looks like.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Lance Archer versus some unknown guy. I don't know what this is. Rampage is just... It's not worth watching. It's a B show. Of the B show. Dynamite this week was...
Really? You didn't like, to me, that promo, like I was telling other people, you have to see that promo. That was one of the best things I've seen this year. MJF just keeps doing it.
How about everything else?
I like the opening match. I thought the opening match, Orange Cassidy, Wheeler Yuta, like I at first going into that I was like, oh, this could be bad, but I liked Claudio coming out, slapping Wheeler, and then like it kind of established that Wheeler is going to be more of a heel in the match, and it worked. They told more of a story, and it was good back and forth action. Like it wasn't, ridiculous as most Orange matches are. I actually really liked the opening match. Main event I was disappointed in, but there was some good moments on the show, I thought.
I didn't like it. I didn't like Dynamite this week. Do you want to talk about Dynamite now? Like, we're jumping all over the place, John. We're talking about Sami Zayn, and we never really got into it.
We'll talk about Dynamite since Rampage kind of distracts us too much because action happens and Lance Archer just won.
All right, let's get this garbage Dynamite out of the way here. Because it was garbage. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Orange Cassidy beating Wheeler Yuta in the opener. Beats him with an orange punch to retain the All-Atlantic Championship. Orange wants to hug Wheeler after the match. And Claudio comes out and he's like mad, and Wheeler doesn't hug Orange and walks to Daddy Claudio instead. Whatever the hell that group still is. Claudio, Wheeler, and Moxley. Just an odd grouping of guys. They're still called the Blackpool Combat Club for some reason, even though Regal's not there anymore, and Bryan Danielson, I guess, isn't even part of the group anymore. And Wheeler, Utah is just like, who cares, man? And Orange Cat, what the? I watched this match and I thought, what the hell am I watching? What is this? What happened to pro wrestling? This isn't what I want to be watching. You know, like, when I watch Dynamite, I do not tune in ever to see Orange Cassidy or Wheeler Utah do anything. I have never tuned into this show being like, whoa, I can't wait to see Orange Cassidy versus whoever. It doesn't matter who Orange Cassidy's wrestling. Or Wheeler Utah. Whoever they wrestle, it could be Bret Hart, it could be Bryan Danielson. I don't care about the match because those guys are in it. And then those guys are wrestling each other. I was like, forget it. Who cares?
Well, I felt the crowd was really into this match. It was a great crowd. And like they bought into everything that they pretty much did. And they bought into the heel turn. Like it was a good back and forth. They told a story in this match. It wasn't just move for move. Things made sense in this match. And it took Orange more than just the orange punch to beat him. He had to hit his beach break, and then he had to hit another orange punch to beat him. It took a lot to beat him.
Well, he hit his finisher twice to beat him.
Well, it was just to show that Wheeler's strong. Like, it's not going to be easy to beat him kind of thing. It wasn't just hit, finish, but he hit a move, pinned him, couldn't keep him down. Hit a move, couldn't keep him down. Like, Wheeler just kept fighting back. They told a good story.
AEW hasn't given me a reason to care about either of these guys. There's no reason. Why were they wrestling? There's no reason to care because they used to be in the same team and now they're not and whatever. Who cares? Who cares? They were barely on the same team. They were barely together, and they've barely made an issue out of it since they broke up. Now, months later, Wheeler, Utah, we're supposed to remember that he used to be with the best friends, and we're supposed to give a shit? No. I refuse to care about this piddly nonsense. This low-grade, all-Atlantic championship wrestling scene. This is a Rampage match that opened up Dynamite. I tune into Dynamite on a Wednesday night to see a good wrestling show. Not this nonsense they threw at me. Didn't like the opener. Didn't like the main event. Didn't like the Battle Royal. Dynamite's usually the best wrestling show of the week. This week, I'm struggling to figure out what the best wrestling show was. I think Dynamite might have been the worst. Raw wasn't great, neither was SmackDown. Wrestling was great last week. This week, went to shit. Every wrestling show was garbage. And Dynamite was no different. It was like, I don't know why do I care about Orange Cassidy? Why? Who is he feuding with? What has he done that's meaningful in the past 6 months? This All-Atlantic Championship, it means nothing. Nothing. And Wheeler, Utah is the third man in a shit group. Moxley's kind of important. Claudio is not. And Wheeler really isn't. Garbage. I can't believe you like this. These guys are nothing. And AEW has done a terrible job in making them anything other than two-dimensional characters. Zero depth to these guys. Zero reason to care.
I think with Wheeler, like, you're not completely wrong there. They're trying, but it doesn't seem like they've done a great job with that. Orange, though, there's a lot of backing behind Orange, though. And, like, I know maybe you don't care about the story, but they've shown him quite a bit. He's featured pretty much on almost every show.
Yes. What is he? What's his deal? He's like lazy. He doesn't care. He wears the jean jacket. He doesn't try very hard. Like what is the deal?
It's not so much
the hands in the pockets and the sunglasses and the little attitude. What is it?
Well,
has he ever cut a promo that's given you any kind of reason to give a shit about the guy Orange Cassidy? Because it's all this flimsy gimmick.
That's not really what the gimmick is about, though. That's it, though. It's not him about cutting these strong promos. Because that's not what the character does, though. So he's not going to do those kind of things. But he is going to stay true to his character when he does. Which is that laid-back kind of attitude. And, like, he'll talk every now and then, but it's going to be little things here and there. It's not going to be too much. But that plays into the character. And you might not like it, but it's super over. And it works.
Yeah. Well, fine. I don't really like it, though. All right? I don't have to like it. And I don't like it. I don't like it. Like, it's just... What else do you do? Orange Cassidy? What else do you do? Because I've seen the act, and it's kind of like, yeah, all right. And I didn't feel any kind of emotion for him or Wheeler Utah. Another guy. No facial expressions on this guy. Nothing. There's like, does he have a personality? The hell is that?
There's some sort of ladder match.
Ugh.
Going to be at Revolution, looks like.
Great. That looks like a mess.
Well, you think about it, though. They can't have too many matches when you have a 60-minute Iron Man match, right? So we're probably only going to get 6 to 7 matches, I think. So you kind of have to put people in a big kind of match like that in order for them to actually get on the card.
Mm-hmm.
Because you already have 4-way tag, trios match. I think there's probably another tag match or something there. Only so many spots, even with like how long the show usually is. Like with an hour-long match, I think 7 to 8 matches, I think is going to be enough.
Well, they've got 7 now with that ladder match. They've got 7.
Oh boy. Well, we might get 8 or 9 then, sadly, because they seem to always add 1 or 2 more. But maybe some of those will make the buy-in. Wait and see. Yeah. Hey, you'll be doing the post show.
Yeah,
I'll be wrestling, so
we'll see. All right, what else happened on this Dynamite show? Hangman and Uno were interviewed about Uno's main event and against Moxley. Uno doesn't want Hangman to get involved. And then Ricky Starks cuts a promo in the ring. This guy is losing all momentum. I don't know what it is. His Jericho thing is killing his momentum. He was like hot for a while. He was doing a thing with MJF. People were behind him, and now he comes out and it's like, yeah, music's good, but what else do you do? What else is happening? Keeps talking about Jericho and the match, and then Jericho comes out. Starks wants to have a match with Jericho, but Jericho doesn't want to have the match. Starks has an open contract for a match at Revolution. And Jericho comes out, and the fans are singing his song forever on the stage. Yeah. And Ricky Starks just kind of looks bored in the ring. But really, if you're buying a ticket to see AEW, especially this Dynamite show, you want to sing that Jericho song because it's going to be one of the highlights of your night.
I
So,
don't disagree, but
right?
maybe commercial break or something with that. Just maybe work that in better because it did feel like a long time just standing there.
I don't know. Still a highlight of the show watching on TV. Jericho says Starks beat him once, but he can never do it again because there will be no rematch. At this point, Peter Avalon comes out, who you haven't seen in years, possibly on AEW Dynamite.
I think
Apparently, he's
months.
still hanging around. What?
I think months, not years. Like
I don't know.
I think we've seen him at least last year. I think in some capacity.
So Avalon wants to sign this open contract that Starks has for a match at Revolution, because then Avalon could get a match at Revolution, but then Jericho decides to hit him with a Judas effect and head to the ring. Jericho says that it wouldn't be Revolution without him, so maybe he should sign the contract. And Stark says if Jericho does sign the contract, he knows that the Jericho Society will interfere on his behalf, and he doubts that Jericho can do it on his own. And Jericho gets really mad about that. And he says, I would sign the contract, but I don't have a pen. And Starks gives him a pen. And when Jericho grabs the pen in the air, he does the click of the pen with his thumb. And the crowd went nuts because that's what he used to do with the list, right? He pulls the pen up and he holds it. And then he clicks it.
Right.
You just
Yeah.
made the list. So that was really good. That was the best part of this whole promo, I thought. Just Jericho holding the pen and the crowd popping for the pen. They knew it. It was good.
I mean, if that was the whole point of the promo, that's okay. Nice little throwbacks like that.
It
It's
wasn't,
kind of nice,
though. The point of the promo was that Ricky Starks had tricked Chris Jericho into signing into the contract that the Jericho Society cannot interfere in this match because Starks says Jericho can't do it alone, and Jericho's like, oh yeah, I'll prove it to you. I can do it alone. I'll sign a contract where they can't even interfere. So they're not allowed to show up. I don't know what happens if they do, but I mean, you would think Chris Jericho would get disqualified, but that's just regular wrestling. Anyhow, Jericho and Starks. That was the point, to get them to a match at Revolution. But like, it's in the contract. They made a point of saying the Jericho Appreciation Society can't be at ringside. Okay, what if they are?
Yeah, well, it should be a disqualification, right?
If they
But
just
I
show
know what
up,
you're saying.
you know what I mean? Like,
I know what you're saying. People have done it before where they're banned from ringside, yet we see them at ringside anyways. So
yeah,
yeah, there's no repercussions for all this stuff. So that is a problem, and it's a whole. We'll see if they stick to the stipulation or not. But my guess is that they just want you to believe that for the most part, it's just going to be one on one, and it shouldn't be too much like shenanigans.
here's the problem though. Ricky Starks already beat Chris Jericho.
Right?
So why do it again on pay-per-view?
Because didn't Jericho say it was a fluke? You can never do that again, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why.
But Jericho lost to Action Andretti, who has done nothing since. And then Jericho lost to Ricky Starks. You know what I mean? Like, Jericho was already devalued. He lost the Ring of Honor title. He lost to Action Andretti. He lost to Ricky Starks. And then he's like, oh, it was a fluke. It's like, yeah, well, was it? Or are you just kind of on a losing streak? And then if Ricky Starks beats him again, it's like, oh, yeah, Jericho loses again. And if Jericho beats Ricky Starks, it's like, well, Jericho kills Ricky Starks' momentum dead. It's a lose-lose. I don't know why they're doing this again. Jericho just, like, he finds these guys he wants to wrestle, and then he just wrestles them too much. And it gets to the point where you don't care anymore. And I'm now at that point.
Well, I think Jericho's trying to get Ricky Starks over, and I think he feels he needs to give him a pay-per-view victory over him. And Jericho is over enough that he can take a loss. So this is just mainly to help get Ricky Starks to another level.
does it do much for Ricky Starks to get the win over Jericho at Revolution? I really
It's the
don't know.
biggest, highest profile win for him. Pay-per-view win over Chris Jericho. That's the biggest win of his career.
After getting a TV win over him, though, it's not like, oh, can he beat Jericho? It's like, yeah, he can. He beat him like a few weeks ago. It's not a big deal. There's no reason
twice,
to care. Ugh. Then the Acclaimed wrestled Big Bill and Lee Moriarty. They beat him after a top rope elbow drop. Despite the Ass Boys attacking Daddy Ass during the match, the Acclaimed still won. This was not great.
This wasn't bad. I don't see what was really wrong with this match. I think it was just a fine tag match.
Because it was against Big Bill and Lee Moriarty.
Okay, I mean, they're not the greatest, but still, the Acclaimed are still a very good team, and like they kind of need to keep getting wins like this to keep them going.
It was boring. Did nothing.
Well,
and this feud with the Ass Boys, like, ugh, get out of here with that.
Well, they're the tag champs. I mean, that's who you're going to feud with. You're going for the titles.
Yeah, they're the tag champs. Tony Schiavone introduces Christian on the stage, and then Jungle Boy attacks Christian, sets up a concerto, but then hesitates for a second, and Christian low blows him and smacks him with a chair, and then Jungle Boy's all bloody, and Christian stands on his head. I mean, they might add that. Is that a match on the... That's not a match on the pay-per-view, but you kind of figure it might be.
I mean, is Christian ready to go, Like, you would think he'd have a couple more matches before, right? Some warm-up matches maybe, but I don't know. It's tough to say. It's nice to see that they're started this, but maybe you wait until, I think it's what, May? Is going to be, end of May is going to be Double or Nothing? Maybe you wait till then.
It's a long time.
But it is, but I mean, again, is Christian really ready to go? Like, for a full match, I mean, it's nice to do, take a bump or two, but to go like, 25, 30 minutes, is he good for that?
Well, what's he there for?
Adam Cole, like, he's only going to be ready after the pay-per-view. He announced that this week.
I mean, he's not attacking guys.
That's true. But he's been in the ring doing stuff, at least. You've seen him in the vignettes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not a return I'm eagerly anticipating. Saraya?
You got it right.
Saraya attacked or beat Sky Blue. Saraya wrestled a match. Beat her by submission with a move I think she used to call the Rampage. I don't know what it's called now. The Saraya.
It's called the Rampage.
Yeah. You call it the Rampage still if your name is not Paige?
Well,
I don't know.
And because the show is called Rampage. So
oh, yeah, that too. Anyways, she beat Sky Blue, which was no surprise. Tony Storm attacked Sky behind the ref's back and stopped a pin by jumping on the apron, so there was some interference during the match. Saraya and Tony were going to spray paint Sky afterwards, but Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter hit the ring and ran them off. Ruby Soho wandered out at some point and gestured to Jamie Hayter that she wanted the belt. They're going to wrestle for the belt at the pay-per-view. They've made Saraya just seem like one of the people very quickly. When she came in, she seemed like a star. She hadn't wrestled in a while. She was a big WWE star. And now she's wrestling Sky Blue on Dynamite. And it's close. You know? Like, it's not like Saraya's just squashing her. Like, Sky Blue's getting offense in. It's like a real wrestling match. Why?
Not a very long match, though. I mean, let's be honest here, though. She got some off. That's just because Saraya was being kind of nice there. I mean, this was clearly like just a match to get Saraya a win because she's going to get a title match, so they need to justify that.
But did she come
But
off
that-
looking strong in this match?
Not particularly, but not weak though. I thought she was just trying to give her too much.
She
You know,
needed help from Toni Storm on 2 separate occasions to beat Sky Blue. And we're supposed to buy her beating Jamie Hayter?
Well, it's okay because she's a heel though. Heels are supposed to cheat, so it's not so bad.
You also have to show the levels. Like, Saraya should not have to cheat to beat Sky Blue. She should have to cheat to beat Toni Storm. Well, not Toni Storm, but, Jamie Hayter or
Not
Ruby
Toni,
Soho, right? Like, she should have to cheat to
course.
beat them. If you're a
She
heel
does.
and you're cheating to win every match, you're not that good, because eventually the heel's going to get caught. And if you have to cheat to win every match, like, what are you?
Well, honestly, like I feel like Soraya's quickly becoming like the top heel for the women's division, and like they might not give her the championship at Revolution, but I could see it at the Double or Nothing. Like I think she probably will be the one to beat Jamie Hayter eventually. It won't be in the 3-way, but I think 1-on-1, when she gets that match, she'll become the AEW Women's Champion because she's right now easily the top women's heel wrestler right now.
I think the 3-way is the best way to give her the belt, because she doesn't have to pin Jamie Hayter. She can pin Ruby Soho. That way you can keep the value high on Jamie Hayter, which I think is a good idea, because Hayter is a star for them. And Soho, I don't know.
I don't disagree with that kind of thinking, but I feel like it's too early for Hayter to lose, that they're going to at least let her have this one. But I think in the rematch, 1-on-1, that's when she would lose to Saraya. Again, like there'll be a lot of cheating involved, so it'll be all right to lose that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see. Bryan Danielson came out after this, and this was the part of the show that was worth watching. Finally, something I wanted to see. Bryan Danielson out in Phoenix. Crowd going crazy for him. I believe Bryan's wife is from Phoenix, so there's a Bella Twins connection there, right? Bryan talks about MJF, saying, MJF was saying how he hates me last week, and I want to talk to him about that. And MJF comes out and he says that he was left stranded by anyone that he ever opened up to. And he met a girl that changed his outlook. And he told her he wanted to start a family with her, and she left him. And she left MJF because he's unlovable. And the belt is the only thing stopping him from taking a fistful of pills and calling it a day. MJF says everyone loves and respects Bryan Danielson, and Bryan has something that MJF will never have, a family, and he takes it all for granted every time he steps foot in the ring. He's telling his family that wrestling is more important than them. MJF says Bryan is spitting in MJF's face by doing that, and Bryan is addicted to the spotlight. Bryan tells MJF, don't bring my children into this or I'm going to kick the shit out of you. MJF talks to Bryan's daughter, Birdie, directly into the camera and says he's going to make sure Dada pays at Revolution, and he's going to rip Dada's arm out of its socket to make sure he can never pick up Birdie again. MJF says he's going to give Bryan early onset CT, and he can't finish the E as Bryan attacks him in the ring. Security jumps in and separated them. It was a lively brawl. It was a tremendous promo from MJF. And it got people talking. Good God almighty. Did MJF's fiance already leave him? Like, what happened? Is that real?
That's what people were telling me. That's what people were telling me, that's what he
That it was real?
referencing. Because apparently she took down all the posts, like, because she made art of him, right?
Okay.
Apparently she, like, is selling all that stuff off. And they unfollowed each other, too, I guess, on social media. So, a lot of people are thinking that it's possibly real. Like you missed out the best part of this though.
Oh,
Two of the
sorry.
best parts. One was the
There
fact
was a
like when
lot
he
there,
said like
John. What did I miss here? What did I miss?
the part where he said like, oh, she left him, and then the crowd started chanting, "You deserved it."
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Like even Brian was kind of like laughing a little bit because I don't think he was expecting that one. And when they were fighting on the outside, like Brian like went to give him a forearm, and then Brian put himself through the table. Like that just showed you like how viciously he ran at him with a forearm. He put himself through a table by doing so.
It was good stuff. A lot of passion from both
Great
guys.
action. You know, someone who's ever like throwing out suicide like in a wrestling show, you can tell like it's getting kind of gritty. Like they don't usually do that. WWE kind of teased it a little bit this week, but I don't feel like they're going in that direction.
Did they?
Well, the whole Nikki Cross thing, they were kind of teasing that, but I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. This was
No, that's just
something else.
yeah. This was actual like I want to kill myself kind of thing.
Yeah.
That is more of like I'm just lonely, but you know I have no friends. Woe is me kind of thing. But they're just going to turn that around, and Candice will be her friend. This is like
MJF is saying I would take pills and overdose if I were not champion because I'm so depressed because my fiance left me.
And that's rough because people have done that in wrestling and just in other forms of entertainment too. So
yeah, it was dark, but it felt real. Sometimes life is dark, right? It was
this is
a hell of a promo there from MJF once again. Goes out and delivers.
This is where AEW, like, they can be a little bit more edgier than WWE.
Mm-hmm.
They would never be able to do that on Raw or SmackDown, say something like that. But AEW can do that.
Great promo this week. Great stuff. And when Brian said, "You talk about my kids, I'm going to kick the shit out of you," like there was no promo there. It was like, listen, dude. Like that was real, Like there was no bullshit there. That was great. I'm going to kick the shit out of you. He meant it. That guy meant it.
Yeah, 100%. And we saw the potential of maybe a MJF Mark Briscoe feud. Like if he mentions Jay and his kids, geez. Like all right. You just saw that. Right. Like
I don't even want to talk about that because that's just distressing. But yes, and the match is going to be amazing because you let Bryan Danielson wrestle anybody for 60 minutes on pay-per-view. It's going to be great. And MJF is a hell of an opponent, so that'll be fun, right? Bryan Danielson, 60-minute Iron Man match. Sold. Who's he wrestling?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of how I feel about it. It's like, you tell me Bryan's wrestling 60 minutes, it doesn't really matter who he's wrestling. I'll be there. Right? You could be wrestling The Miz for 60 minutes. Thankfully, he's wrestling MJF.
Yeah, it's going to be a better match, thankfully.
Yeah.
But this sold me on, like, it's a good build. It's been a good story. Like, doesn't matter what happens next week for me. Like, this has been a success so far. You just need a good match, and I'm not too concerned about that.
Next, we had the Tag Team Battle Royal for a Tag Team title shot at Revolution. One of two spots in a fatal four-way for the Tag Team titles that will be decided via Battle Royal. This was the first of two Battle Royals. They're going to do another one on Wednesday.
Which is a casino-style Battle Royal.
Oh, so what a difference. Stupid. So stupid. This is awful. Jeff Jarrett won, too. So that his team is in the match, the Fatal 4-Way. They get a spot in the 4-Way at the pay-per-view for the belts. Oh, how convoluted can you get? Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett qualify. The Guns are the tag team champions. The Acclaimed. I mean, this is just B-level shit. This is really weak. When you think about where the AEW tag division has been and where it is currently, it is a sad state of affairs. Fucking pathetic. Now we have another battle royal to jump into this shit show. Terrible. Mark Briscoe came out during this battle royal. I thought he was going to jump in, win it on his own. He's a Ring of Honor tag team champions. You know what I mean? Like, I thought he would just kind of come in and win it, but he didn't. He attacked Josh Woods for some reason. He had a match with Josh Woods last week. He beat him, and now he comes out and attacks him. Why?
Well, didn't they beat him down last week, though? After the match?
They? Okay. I don't know. I can't pay attention to all this nonsense going on. Josh Woods. Trent, Jeff Jarrett, and Jay Lethal were the final guys. Trent got help from Danhausen and Orange Cassidy. Got Lethal out of there, and Jarrett hit the stroke on Trent and then dumped him over the top rope to win. Jeff Jarrett winning a match in 2023 here on Dynamite TV. This whole tag division feels like Impact Wrestling, doesn't it? Bunch of guys you don't want to see.
Well, I don't know about you. I find like this four-way tag, it's people all involved in the same story. To me, the fourth team, if you make the story make sense, it should be FTR, no?
FTR?
I mean, with the Guns as champions, it just kind of makes sense.
Would save the match.
Well, that too, but like, I mean, of all the other teams to add, it's the best choice, easily.
Are they in this Casino Battle Royal? I thought they were off.
I have no idea. But that's the thing about the Casino Battle Royal. Don't they have a Joker?
Maybe.
So that could be very interesting.
FTR would help this match tremendously. If it's not FTR, though, it's going to be some other jabroni team, and it's going to be awful. Maybe they could get Darby and Sting. Might help. I don't know.
That's a very good idea, too.
Where's Darby been? Right? Darby and Sting,
Well,
they got a history with Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, right?
Right. But, Darby, I'm sure, is banged up a little bit after that match with Joe, so.
Mm-hmm. I would much rather see Darby and Sting as tag team champions than any of those guys in the match.
Agreed. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
They'd be a much better pair of tag team champions than the Ass Boys,
Easily. Yeah.
Tony Khan needs to call me so I can give him some help. I don't know what's going on with him, but he needs help because it's not working right now, Tony Khan. You come out, you got a major announcement. You're plugging this major announcement. Renee interviews you, and you're like, important announcement.
Major.
Whatever, man. If you're out there, you don't come out very often, and you're like, oh, I got an important announcement. It better be important. This was not important. He comes out and he's like, oh, I got an announcement and should be a wrestler. So here's a wrestler. Here's Adam Cole to tell you. See you later, folks. I was like, what the hell?
He's done this before.
Yeah, it was bizarre. So Adam Cole tells us that next month they're going to have a new show after Dynamite called AEW All Access. And he'll be making his in-ring return on the night in March when All Access debuts. He'll be on the Dynamite before. Wow. It's some sort of reality show about AEW. I mean, I might watch it if it's available and I have time.
Right.
But I don't need it in my life. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't looking for this.
I understand, but I mean, if it has anything about Punk and the Elite, I'll definitely check that out.
It won't. Come on.
Like, how can you have All Access and not have anything mentioning that? Like, the biggest thing, like, in wrestling.
That was a long time ago. It's a recent, if it's a reality show, you would think they'd do stuff a little bit more current.
Usually they tape that stuff like way in advance, no? Like that's like a year done, no?
They haven't talked about it at all on their TV. You think they're going to save it for this all-access show? I don't think so.
It's a good way to sell the show.
Oh, dude, you're hoping for way too much here. You're hoping for way too much. You're going to hate this show. Jon Moxley versus Evil Uno was the main event. What did you think?
You know, I didn't mind the fact that Moxley beat the crap out of him. Because, I mean, it's what we all expected. I just wish it was just a little bit more competitive. But I also understand that they haven't built Uno up enough to make it be more competitive. But it's the main event. So for him just to pretty much just go in there and steamroll him, I felt bad for Uno. Because I've seen him in really good matches in the past. And it's just too bad they put him in a spot where, you're just going to get pretty much killed by Moxley. And he did a good job of getting killed, though. Don't get me wrong. That blood at the end, wow, that was great stuff. But it didn't feel like a main event. It just felt like this was the squash match I'm talking about, like what Cena should have had. Maybe not, obviously, never get as close as bloody, but something to this effect that they won't pull off though in WWE.
This looked sea level. I mean, this was bad. This looked awful. They wouldn't pull it off in WWE. They wouldn't put it on the WWE. They would be embarrassed to put this. This is an embarrassing main event. This was your main event? I'm sorry. But Evil Uno needs to keep a shirt on. He needs to. Because he looks, I mean, not good for TV. He does not look imposing in any way. And he makes AEW look like they'll put just about any guy in a mask and let him wrestle in their main events. That's what it looked like to me. I like Evil Uno. I've seen Evil Uno do good things. This was not a good look. Especially the gear coming out with no shirt. Does he go to a gym ever? Like, honestly, I don't understand how he's a pro wrestler walking around with no shirt on TV looking like that. And how AEW could see him and think, yeah, that's a good idea. Put him in the main event. That'll look good. That'll draw ratings. Most people that are just flipping the channels would see that and go, yeah, right. And keep going. It's not a good look. And the match was not great, and he's bleeding all over the place. It was awful. It was unprofessional, low-grade wrestling. It was disappointing. Uno needs to put like that shirt back on. Something. Because he looked so low rent. He looked like a guy that could never, in his wildest dreams, wrestle for the WWE. So why the hell is he main eventing an AEW show? If you're a guy that could never, ever pass in the other company, you're not gonna move the needle here. You're gonna make them look worse. I mean, I'm not trying to bash this guy's physique because it's not about the physique in pro wrestling. But if you don't have the physique, there are ways to cover it up. There are ways to hide it. And he did not do himself any favors by coming out the way he did. Because I saw him and I was like, jeez, man. Do you have muscles? At all? Anywhere? Like, I don't understand. How's he lifting people? Does he lift anyone? It's like, what the hell is this? It was shocking. I didn't realize he was in such poor physical condition. He's covered up most of the time. I never saw him like that. I was like, what the hell, man? You look like shit. Like, come on.
You can't tell. Okay, you couldn't tell.
I didn't realize it was that bad. I mean, god damn, man. He made Moxley look jacked, and Moxley's not in great shape either. You know, they got guys like Eddie Kingston walking around over there. I don't know what's going on in AEW, but some of the physiques that they allow to pass on TV, it's shocking.
Well,
you could be a fat guy. Just cover it up, man. You never saw Cactus Jack without a shirt on, man. Cactus Jack always wore a shirt. There's a reason.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
But it's just something in wrestling, period, though. Like, you've seen it in independent wrestling a lot as well, where it's not so much about the physiques anymore. It's more about, like, if you can pull off a cool spot or not. If you can get reactions from the crowd. That's what they care about more than anything. The physiques aren't really the big selling point anymore.
The small indie wrestling nerd crowd that watches Dynamite no matter what. Who cares about that, man? That's not what it's about. Like, yeah, a lot of people don't care about his physique. Yeah, but come on, man. So don't go to the gym then, John. Stop going to the gym. You're a wrestler. Stop working out. If it's not about the physique, what are you doing?
I have a different way of looking at it, but, everyone's going to have their own take on it. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Sami Zayn, doesn't have the best physique in the world, but is still one of the most over guys right now in wrestling.
He's in pretty good shape. Like, he's not jacked for a wrestler, but for a man, he's in pretty good shape. You know what I mean? Like, you see him he's not a fat guy. He's got muscle.
No.
He's got like some abs. Like, not like abs, but you could kind of see a little abbish. He's abbish. You know?
Like, everyone's a good athlete if you think about it in their own little way. It's just some people, in terms of physique, it doesn't work out that well.
Sami Zayn is a good athlete. Is Evil Uno a good athlete?
Right. You saw glimpses of it in that match, I thought.
No, I didn't.
Just not enough of it.
I didn't see anything. I saw him bleeding all over the place.
You saw his flip off the top. He does more of that, but they just didn't give him the chance to do it.
Yeah, I didn't like Dynamite this week. It was not great. And then after the match,
the ending,
Moxley doesn't let go of the Bulldog choke after he chokes Uno out. Johnny Hungy and Alex Reynolds come out to confront Moxley. Wheeler and Claudio come out and brawl with them. And then Hangman comes out and attacks Moxley, wraps his hand in barbed wire, busts Moxley open. Of course, Moxley's bleeding. It wouldn't be an episode of Dynamite without Jon Moxley's blood all over the place. And then Hangman beats up Moxley around the ring, and they close the show. Finally, the show was over. I was really done with it by the end of this one. Disappointing Dynamite for me. I didn't like most of it. I liked Bryan Danielson and MJF. That was it.
Well, I thought the Christian and Jungle Boy segment was excellent. I really liked the whole setup where Jungle Boy hesitated and Christian made him pay. I thought that was just a great little. Okay, fine, you're over it, but I thought it was a good segment, and just it's adding more to that story. And I liked the opening match. I know you weren't a fan of it, but I thought that was the perfect opener for them to have. If you look at the rest of that card, that was the best match to start the show.
That's because the rest of the card also sucked. Coming up on Dynamite next week, Hook against a member of Stokely's gang. They will announce it. Is it Matt Hardy?
I think they said it on Rampage, yeah.
Okay. There'll be a casino battle royal for a tag team title shot at Revolution. And, yeah, that's happening on Dynamite coming up Wednesday. Hopefully it's a better episode of Dynamite. It's got to be, because I usually like Dynamite, right? Like, I'm not one of these guys that comes on here and is like, oh, Dynamite sucks, AEW sucks, WWE's the best. I don't do that. But this week, Dynamite sucked. And usually it's the best wrestling show of the week, so I was disappointed.
I mean, I was very disappointed with Raw and SmackDown. So, wow, if you thought Dynamite was worse, like, wow, you had a bad week.
Yeah, well, Raw or SmackDown were, they were not better either. Not better shows. We had Samuel Zayn opening up Raw this week, which I thought was pretty good. Crowd chanting his name for a while. They were still in Canada. They were in Ottawa.
2 hours
Sammy
away.
talks. What?
It's 2 hours away, so I imagine people from Montreal probably made the trip down.
Yeah. Sammy says he feels. What? God damn it.
We did. Sorry. We didn't go down. Did you go down? I didn't make the trip down to Ottawa. I'm sorry. Like, I like Sami Zayn, and I enjoyed SmackDown and Elimination Chamber, but I wasn't going to go down for Raw. Like, 3 hours more of wrestling? No. I was done.
Yeah, I had enough. I mean, SmackDown and Elimination Chamber. Those were the best shows. What am I going to do? Travel to Ottawa to see Raw? I knew Raw wasn't going to be great on Monday night. I didn't need to see that.
And then come back.
Yeah, well, the hell am I doing that for? I got shit to do. I'm not trying to go to Raw too. Sammy says he feels guilt for not beating Roman. He wants Kevin Owens to come out. Kevin Owens does. Sammy thanks him for helping him at the pay-per-view, right? Because Sammy was going to get beat up by the Bloodline, and Kevin Owens came out and stopped him. Right?
Remember, I complained to you this off air. I'm like, oh, I should have mentioned, like, this Kevin coming out at Chamber, like, it didn't make a lot of sense, because it's like you came out after 20 minutes of run-ins. But it made sense after that Raw promo.
Yeah, Kevin Owens explained it all. It made a lot of sense why Kevin Owens didn't come out during the match. He only came out afterwards. Sammy thanks Kevin, says he's sorry. He says he knows that a lot of stuff has happened between them and the Bloodline and all that stuff. And he knows that Kevin Owens always wanted to take out the Bloodline, and Kevin couldn't do it alone, and Sammy couldn't do it alone, but he thinks that they can do it together. And Kevin Owens says, look, I don't need an apology. I don't need your gratitude. I came out and stopped the Bloodline on Saturday for my family, who were in the front row at Elimination Chamber, but had to watch me on TV get beat up at the Royal Rumble while you just stood there and watched, by the way, Sami Zayn.
Oh, burn.
Kevin Owens says he did it for Sammy's family. Kevin Owens, by the way, is the only character on WWE TV with a memory. Like, things happen to him, and he's like, yeah, this happened. I'm not going to forget about it. Every other character is like, oh, did that happen? I don't know. Let's be friends now, Like, Elias is like, let's be friends, Kevin Owens. He's like, oh, yeah, I had this thing with Ezekiel. Like, I'm not forgetting about that. I hate you, Elias. What are you talking about? And he's like, hey, Sami Zayn, I don't forget that you were with the Bloodline for a long time, and you may not be with them right now, but, you watched me get beat up, and you didn't really save me there when I was getting beat up at the Royal Rumble, buddy.
Survivor Series.
What?
Remember Survivor Series? Like, he pretty much beat him at Survivor Series, helped him lose.
Yeah, well, that's it. So Kevin Owens is staying true to his character, and he makes a lot of sense. Kevin says that he helped Sammy for Sammy's family, and he's been fighting the Bloodline on his own, and that's the way he wants to keep fighting them. And he told Sammy that he was done with him after Survivor Series, and he stands by that. And Kevin Owens says that if you need help taking down the Bloodline, why don't you just ask your buddy Jey Uso?
Ooh.
And then Kevin Owens leaves, and Sammy's like, like all sad. And then Sammy thanks the crowd on the stage, and gets clotheslined from behind by Baron Corbin for some reason. And then Corbin cuts a promo talking about Sami and how he doesn't belong in the ring with Roman Reigns, and how Corbin is the last person to have beaten Roman Reigns, and Sami's pathetic, and all this stuff. And then refs and Adam Pearce are trying to stop Sami from going to the ring. But then Corbin says, Sami, you're a failure. So then Adam Pearce is like, oh, he called you a failure. Now you must go to the ring and fight him. Like, I don't understand. Sami is getting run down by Baron Corbin. Adam Pearce is trying to stop him from fighting him. But then Corbin says failure, and then that's the magic word. And Adam Pearce is like, oh, go ahead and fight Sami Zayn. Or Sami Zayn, go ahead and wrestle Corbin. And then they had a match that Sami won, of course. But that made no sense to me there. Why would Pearce stop him and then all of a sudden, like, oh, you said failure? Go get him, Sami.
Yeah, I think Pearce just gave up on trying to stop it because they knew they wanted to fight or something. So he's just like, well, just go ahead and do it. Yeah. I just don't like how it's like, he gets attacked, commercial break, promo. They have a little bit of a match for maybe a minute, and then commercial break, and then come back, and then end of the match, like within 2 minutes. Like, all that for like, what, like 10, 15 minutes, and like we barely saw anything. I was disappointed with all just the breaks all the time.
Opening promo was good though with Kevin and Sami. Nuances there.
Yeah, of course.
With the relationship, very good stuff.
I just thought match-wise, it felt like no one really cared, it was hard to really care about it because once it started, you go to a break and then come back and then it's over. So it's hard to really get into a match where you don't get much chance to get invested into it. And it's like, the story's good, but the action, like, it's the background practically.
Yeah, but it wasn't really about the match with Baron Corbin. Like, it was just a way for Sami Zayn to get a win and get a pop from the crowd. And it wasn't really about a match with Corbin. I didn't care about that. It was about the promo. It was about the story.
Right. I don't disagree with that. It's a better win if you let that kind of sink in a little bit and like let it actually transpire instead of just like, well, it's done over pretty quick. It felt like the match was a squash, and it wasn't a squash. They actually did stuff. You just didn't see most of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have not quite made up. They're not quite friends again. But you do expect them to kind of get together at some point by WrestleMania time to face the Usos. The Usos have not quite got together again, even though they did team up, like, last week and win? 2 weeks ago?
Or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So, that's kind of odd, right? Like, where's Jay? Where's Jay? Is Jay going to show up? And then Jay does show up, and he teams with Jimmy, and it's all good. And now again, it's like, oh, where's Jay? Where's Jay? Is he going to be with Jimmy? And it's like, well, didn't we do this already?
They love to drag things out. And I don't think they want to do... They don't want to do Kevin and Sami versus the Usos straight up feud probably until after WrestleMania. You got to do something because they were going to wrestle each other probably like 3 pay-per-views in a row, right? Or 3 PLEs in a row. So... this is the start of it, them just coming together, origins, whatever. And then the second will be the true war, WrestleMania Backlash. Apparently it's just called Backlash now.
Okay.
So that's going to be the rematch, more than likely. Them actually feuding.
Well, tonight on Smackdown, Jimmy Uso was told by Paul Heyman that he got a text from Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns says he's going to be on Smackdown next week. And if Jimmy can't handle Jey Uso tonight, well, Roman will be on SmackDown and will handle him personally, whatever that means. Threats from the tribal chief, right?
Well, we saw SmackDown. He didn't really handle him too well, so
no.
There will be consequences.
There will be consequences from Roman Reigns next week. Jimmy Uso cuts the promo in the ring, says, Jay, I'll always be there for you, just like you need to be here for me tonight. people are saying we got problems in the bloodline. We got a Sami Zayn problem, and I can't do this alone. I need you, Jay. And then Sami Zayn shows up from the crowd and says, oh, I'm not here to fight, Jimmy. You were the one who always had my back. You made me the honorary Uso. You were the one that always liked me, Jimmy Uso. You were my dog. And I'm hurt because you turned your back on me. When things went down at the Royal Rumble and I did what I did, you attacked me without thinking about it. And it hurt. It made me sad. And Jimmy is just getting madder and madder as Sami is saying this. And Jimmy's like, you're so selfish, Sami Zayn. You made the choice. You decided to hit Roman Reigns with the chair. You stepped on me. You stepped on Jay. You stepped on the whole family. Family doesn't betray you, and that's what you did. Which is good because Jimmy Uso has a point there, right? But then Sami says, well, family doesn't test your loyalty every week or manipulate you like Roman Reigns does, which is another solid point from Sami. And Jey Uso then, at this point, appears from the crowd. And Sami says the bloodline is not about one man. This is where Sami's promo got a little bit weird. He says the bloodline is not about one man, and I won't stop until the bloodline crumbles to the ground, but there's a way out for you, Jimmy. So he's saying the bloodline isn't about one man, so it's not about Roman Reigns, but he wants to make it crumble to the ground. So if it's not about Roman Reigns, who is it about? Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman, but not Jimmy and Jay because he likes those guys? What's Sami Zayn really saying here? I don't know. It got a little weird at that point, right? I was like, he's like, it's not about one man, and I will make it crumble to the ground, but I will save you, Jay. And it's like, okay, so he's trying to get Solo and Roman and Heyman, I guess?
Yes, I will eradicate this evil force, but I can spare you. Just take my hand. It's kind of, that's what he's saying in a sense.
Yeah, what does that even mean? Like, I can spare you if you, like, I won't beat you up if you join me now? Like, I don't understand. He's kind of threatening Jimmy, kind of like what Roman does all the time, right? Like, be with me or I will beat you up. And Sami's kind of saying, like, there's a way out for you because I'm going to take down the bloodline. And it's like, wait a second. Anyhow, Sami gets momentarily distracted by Jay in the crowd, and Jimmy attacks Sami. Jimmy then motions for Jay to get in the ring, which allows Sami to use that distraction and kick Jimmy with that Helluva kick, and Jey Uso just watches. Just kind of watching all the action transpire. Solo Sikoa shows up, chases Sami out of the ring, back into the crowd to help his brother Jimmy Uso, while Jey Uso just watches. And that's how SmackDown came to an end. So Jey Uso, not clearly with his brother and his cousin and his other brother in the bloodline, but not necessarily with Sami Zayn. But it's the Usos. I mean, what are you going to do? Break up the Usos? I don't think so.
And that was the best part of Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
The rest was very difficult.
Not really worth it.
We got through it. Not really worth it, but I mean, you know, I believed that Cody and Paul Heyman was going to be a good promo. Sadly, I was disappointed. I don't know what you thought, but I didn't really think this was their best work. And it just, for whatever reason, they just dragged that on. Like, Paul just kept talking and talking, and it's like, all right, you've made your point, but you just kept going, and Cody's not really saying anything. And then Cody doesn't really respond back to him. He just goes to another camera, talks to Roman, and it's over. And it's like, I'm kind of glad it's over. This wasn't very good.
I mean, it wasn't terrible. Heyman on the big screen talking about how Cody doesn't want to be the champion because if he beats Roman, all the matches he's going to have to do and all the promotion, and he's going to be a slave to the WWE because he doesn't have a guy like Paul Heyman fighting for him like Roman Reigns does, and Roman has to, you know, he doesn't have to do a lot as champion, whereas Cody will be pushed by the WWE to do all these things, and he'll be busy, and he'll be on the road. And Heyman wants to know if that's the life that Cody wants for his wife and kid. And I did like the line when Heyman's like, well, I'm not going to say something cheap like Roman Reigns is going to keep your wife warm for you, Cody, because Roman Reigns is a happily married man. But I'm not. And I'll make sure that your life turns into a nightmare. Heyman saying he's going to, have sex with Brandy Rhodes? I don't know what the hell he was trying to say there, but I thought just for that alone, Roman Reigns isn't going to keep your wife warm at night. He's happily married. But I'm not. It's all creepy. I don't know. I thought that was all right. And then Cody, didn't really respond. He said, don't send Heyman anymore, Roman Reigns. You're great. You're the best champion in sports, but I'm going to finish the story and beat you at WrestleMania. You want to stop referring to it as a story? Like it's supposed to be not a story. Like you're not supposed to be in a movie. You're not supposed to tell us you're in a movie. I'm the good guy in this movie and I will win in the end. It's like, whoa. You're not supposed to say that in the movie.
Right, but it's WrestleMania goes Hollywood, right? So
Lame.
I kind of get why.
Finish the story. Get out of here with that. Stop saying that. It's bad.
Well, the WrestleMania promos are bad so far too with the Seth Franklin stuff, but we still get them every week, sadly.
Yeah. This promo was not as good as it has been, but I did not hate it. I mean, we just watched before that Mustafa Ali and Dolph Ziggler. I mean, this was a step up from that. What else do we have on this garbage Raw?
It was Chad Gable against Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
Not great.
I mean, Gable did German suplex Bronson Reed, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, but the whole match was built around the whole distraction when Maxine Dupree showed up.
Well, yeah, Gable would have won, which is odd, right? You're trying to make Bronson kind of a monster, but Gable was in control of the match until he got distracted by Otis, who was talking to Maxine, who's trying to recruit Otis into her modeling team, which allowed Bronson to hit a slam and a splash for the win. Which was like, you're not putting Bronson Reed over very strong. He needs Gable to be distracted to win. That happened. We also had Seth Rollins beating The Miz with a few curb stomps. The referee stopped the match. I mean, any show that has Seth Rollins and The Miz is just not great.
I mean, it's not a bad match, but I've seen it so many times.
It's bad.
I mean, sometimes it can be all right. This wasn't terrible. It's just I've seen it so many times, and it felt very routine.
Asuka beat Nikki Cross with the Asuka lock. Nikki was smiling while she lost for some reason. I don't know what that was about. Bianca Belair was sitting ringside. Came in after the match. Oh, yeah, she's hopping and skipping. Bianca's happy. But she didn't seem too happy when Asuka puked up blue and then laughed about it. They both pointed at the sign, and then Asuka seemed to puke, and blue shit came out of her mouth. And then she started laughing, and then Bianca looked a little nervous about it. I don't know what the hell that was. It was not good at all.
It's not a great story, sadly. I don't think they have a good story to tell off this one. But I think the match can be pretty good at Mania, though.
Yeah, I think the match will be good. I don't know about the build. Seth Rollins cut a backstage promo about Logan Paul. He was talking all weird like he was the Joker from that commercial. Is he just adopting that character now?
I think he's adopted that, for a while now, pretty much. Ugh. It's just now everyone's connected the dots.
Had enough. MVP cut a promo about Brock Lesnar, how he got disqualified in his match against Bobby Lashley at the Chamber, and Brock knew he couldn't beat Bobby. That's why he did it. MVP says Omos is challenging Brock to a match at WrestleMania and tells Brock to show up next week and accept. Is this for real? What's going on here with Brock and Omos and Bray Wyatt and Bobby Lashley? Something's going on.
Well, I think they're going with the direction of Lashley versus Bray Wyatt. Like we saw Lashley came out said he doesn't care if it's Bray Wyatt, like he'll take anyone out. And then Bray Wyatt had the Firefly Funhouse
Ugh.
talking about Lashley. So
That was a low point
yeah,
of the week, right? That Firefly Funhouse tonight on SmackDown. What the hell was that? That was awful. What? It was
I
just all
mean,
sorts of shit thrown into a bat. It was just a mess. A
it
mess of
reminded
stuff.
me of the Cena versus Bray Firefly Funhouse match, where it's just a bunch of nonsense all rolled into something. And yeah, I guess some people like it because they like to go through everything and figure out what all these little things mean. Personally, it's not my cup of tea, and I'm happy when it's over, to be honest. And yeah, I don't look forward to seeing that match, however it's going to happen. I feel with Brock, though, they don't have anything else for him. So, having him F5 someone who's over 7 feet tall, that's going to look impressive. And sadly, that's the best thing to have for him, I think, at WrestleMania this year.
That's awful. They better not have Brock and Omos. This better be some sort of swerve where they do something where Bobby Lashley attacks Brock, because Bobby Lashley and Bray Wyatt in some sort of Firefly Funhouse gimmick match sounds terrible. Bobby Lashley having to react to that Bray Wyatt stuff sounds so bad. And Brock against Omos is pointless. Brock beating Omos does nothing for Omos. And Omos beating Brock is like, what? I couldn't imagine, unless, they want to push Omos in a major way after WrestleMania and build him as a big monster. A win over Brock Lesnar would be shocking. It would make him, right? I mean, you beat Brock at Mania, you are made. Omos's match with Braun Strowman a few months back on one of those pay-per-views wasn't as bad as we expected it to be. Remember, they pulled off a pretty good match.
It was okay. I wouldn't say, great, but it was okay.
Yeah, but it was okay. Like, Omos could be passable. If Cody's the world champion after WrestleMania, he's going to need some opponents, right? Omos
Bobby
against Cody?
Oh, I definitely think Bobby Lashley's going to get. I mean, Seth Franklin, of course, as well. Everyone's going to want that rematch.
I don't need to see it. We saw it like 4 times already. It's enough.
I don't disagree with you, but for some reason, people love seeing that match and they want to see it again.
People were so shocked that WWE was saying Omos versus Brock that everybody thinks it's a swerve. They're going to not do that on Raw. We'll see what happens Monday night. I would be surprised to see Omos versus Brock. And if they're really doing Omos versus Brock, like, couldn't we have just done Gunther versus Brock? Because that's a match that people actually want to see.
But you saw SmackDown this week. That's not the direction. The direction looks like it's going to be Drew.
Yeah.
Possibly Sheamus against Gunther instead.
Sheamus has been done already.
Well, I meant like a 3-way.
Yeah, maybe. Drew Gunther one-on-one is all right, too. But you might want to find a way to put Sheamus at WrestleMania. Elsewhere on Raw, we had Bayley hosting her Ding Dong Hello segment with Damage Control. Becky Lynch came out, says she wants to be the tag team champions going into WrestleMania. Lita comes out as Becky's partner. Bayley tells them if they're going to come in the ring, they have to use the door, which they do. They use that door that Bayley has set up, which is really dumb.
APA.
And Lita challenges them to a tag team title match, so it is on. Bayley accepted. Dakota and Io didn't seem too happy. Dakota was on like one crutch. She seems like injured. Exactly. I don't understand why Bayley's accepting matches. But they have a tag team title match set for next week on Raw. And there's been talk that Trish Stratus may get involved in some way, and we may see a 6-woman tag with Bayley, Io, and Dakota against Trish, Lita, and Becky. I don't know, maybe. But if that's happening, like, what's Ronda Rousey doing? Because Ronda's not wrestling for the SmackDown title or the Raw title. She seems to be in a tag team with Shayna. But the tag team champions are involved in this whole Becky Lynch Lita thing. Where does Ronda fit into all this? Or will Becky and Lita win the tag belts and face Ronda and Shayna at WrestleMania?
So last year they did Four Corners number one contenders match, right? On one night. And then the winners went on the next night to face the women's champions. If I'm not mistaken, I think that happened last year or the year before.
Okay.
So I think that's what they're going to do. I think they've been doing this the last couple of years. It's always a Four Corners women's match of some capacity. So I think that's what's going to happen. However, you throw Trish in this, and that just kind of throws everything out the window. So it feels like you have another match, plus you get a Four Corners tag as well. So however that works out will be very interesting.
Yeah, how the hell? What?
It'd be interesting because like maybe, Trish actually sides with Bayley. And you do Bayley and Trish against Becky and Lita. And the Four Corners women's tag is something else.
Yeah. I don't know what they're doing here. The Ronda situation is unclear as well.
Well,
Ronda was what?
Still do the Four Corners tag, right? Damage control against Ronda, Shayna, and two other teams. They could put two other teams together. I'm not worried about that.
Really gonna put two other teams in there? You're just gonna make Ronda part of a crowd of teams? Ronda Rousey,
Raquel and Liv. That's a team
ridiculous.
Right there easily. Candice and Nikki. Boom, it's done.
Ronda should not be part of a crowd.
I don't disagree with you, but winning the tag team titles, that's her thing. So I think that's going to be her Mania thing.
Ronda was with Shayna tonight, and Ronda was fantastic. I don't know if you caught what she was talking on camera without a mic, but she was saying some funny stuff. Shayna beat Natty with an armbar after a distraction from Ronda Rousey. Natty had Tegan Nox in her corner tonight. Ronda and Shayna went to attack Natty after the match, but Tegan jumped in and clotheslined Ronda. Ronda rolled out of the ring and goes, "Who is that? Who was that?" And
I heard that. Yeah.
And Shayna goes, "That's Tegan Nox." And Ronda's like, "You're dead. Hey, Skittles, you're going to taste the rainbow next Friday." Right?
I heard the Skittles. Yeah, I heard the Skittles. I didn't heard taste the rainbow. I heard
She
Skittles.
called her Skittles, and then she says you're going to taste the rainbow next Friday. And then Ronda's still yelling, and Shayna's trying to hold her back, and Ronda's like, "Who is that? Is that Natty's new person? Is that the tag division now? Just Natty and a person?"
Wow.
It's fucking great. She was on fire. She's like, "Is that just Natty's new person? That's the tag division? Just Natty and a person?" It was like she was calling out the booking and the ridiculousness of the whole situation, yelling.
Wow.
I heard all of it. I was like, "Wow, Ronda, that was great." Is that Natty's new person? Just Natty and a person. Who is that?
Well, not
Ronda.
wrong.
Ronda's the best.
Over the years, it's always been like that. Natty with Tamina, Natty with Shayna, Natty with Ronda. Randomly have matches like that. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, Natty and Tamina.
Accurate. Yeah. She's completely accurate with all that. Completely.
Yeah. That's why it was so funny. Because she's like, "What is this? Is this the division? Natty and a person? Natty and a person. Is that Natty's new person?" Ronda said tonight. Go back and check it out. It was worth seeing. It was the best moment on SmackDown by far. Ronda going, "Who is that?"
I heard the "who is that." I heard that part.
"You're dead, Skittles. You're dead, Skittles." There's no Skittles sponsorship either,
That's Snickers, no?
I think it was Snickers, they said tonight, yes. Nice catch there. All right, whatever. What else happened on this terrible Raw? You had
There was other things that happened.
Nothing. Austin Theory beat Edge in the main event.
There you go. Yeah, Edge had a promo. Edge's promo was okay.
Edge had a promo?
Match was, he had a promo before the match.
Yeah.
but match was kind of disappointing. And like I thought Edge was trying, but Theory, like it kind of goes to show like he's not quite ready yet for that main event spot. Like he has matches, but they're not very compelling. And like I can understand why you're not big on Austin Theory. Like he still has ways to go, I think, before he becomes a top star. But they're still going to give him a push. He's still probably going to beat Cena anyways. But yeah, he's not quite there yet. Like I think people wanted to get into this match, but Theory just wasn't really trying. It looked like he just was doing his routine, which is not really interesting at this point.
Nope. Doesn't hold my attention. He'll do some nice stuff, and he's athletic and everything, but I just kind of tune out because I don't have a reason to care about him or watch his matches. His matches do not hold my attention. And he beat Edge after some help from Finn Balor. Finn Balor attacked Edge after the match, hit his coup de grace double stomp twice. And that was the end of Raw.
I just feel Theory like in main event matches, like you got to do more than just your routine. You know, you're with someone with Edge who's very versatile. You can pull something out that people haven't seen before, something kind of shocking. But he didn't really try hard, it looked like.
I don't know what he's got going for him. You know, like I don't know.
Well, he's got to find it in himself. Like he has to figure out like what that is. You know, everyone has to go through that, and he's going through it right now.
I mean, you're wrestling Edge in Canada. It's the main event of Raw, and it was a dud match. Not what you want. Not what you want.
You know, you learn from that, though. I'm sure Edge probably talked to him. I'm sure a lot of people talked to him. So he learns from that kind of experience.
Over on Smackdown tonight, Imperium beat Madcap Moss, Ricochet, and Braun Strowman. Gunther got the pinfall on Moss after a powerbomb. The Viking Raiders attacked Drew McIntyre after the match. Drew McIntyre was out watching the match, maybe to watch Gunther for WrestleMania. Who knows? Sheamus came out to make the save for Drew. Braun and Ricochet helped take out the Viking Raiders. So, something there, I guess, with Imperium and the Viking Raiders and Ricochet. And maybe they do an 8-man tag next week with Sheamus, Drew, Braun, Ricochet against a couple Imperiums and a couple Raiders. Something's going on there.
Yeah, I could see something like that go down. It makes sense. It was just weird that Madcap got pinned and then he completely disappeared afterwards. Everyone else stayed around. He just kind of vanished. Kind of weird.
It is and it isn't, right? Because he doesn't really have a place. He's just there to take the pin.
I guess you're right.
LA Knight cut a promo tonight. He says he didn't come to WrestleMania. He didn't come to WWE for a WrestleMania moment. He's in there to make money, win titles, and be the best. But in order to do that, he's got to go to WrestleMania. And then the New Day show up, and they say, oh, you know, Kofi Mania, we've had moments, and you've only been on the roster for a couple of months. You shouldn't be demanding anything. And then they have a match, and it's Kofi Kingston versus LA Knight. And I figured, well, Kofi, you know, he's in a tag team. They're not really doing much with him. LA Knight, they seem to be high on. They're giving him a lot of promo time. He's a new guy. But Kofi beat him. Trouble in Paradise, 1, 2, 3. A little bit of cheating from Woods, little interference, but everybody's winning with distractions and interference these days, so it doesn't matter. Kofi beat LA Knight. I was a little surprised, but wasn't like a huge upset, right? Just shows you LA Knight is not the guy that they're pushing.
Well, neither guy is really getting pushed right now. You know, they just kind of both exist, but they're just not really doing anything. So this didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I think in the sense where it's just like, well, Kofi was a WWE champion at one point, so he shouldn't just lose all the time.
What are they doing with Kofi and Woods, though?
Well, they were just NXT tag champs.
Yeah, but
I mean,
they don't have a spot for WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing going on with those guys right now.
No, it's too bad, but
Yeah.
Yeah, they just don't have anything. It's
Yeah.
the way, unfortunately, it works out. But, I think if Big E comes back, that could help add to them again.
That'd be huge, but I don't know if he will. Ever.
It's been a year now, no?
Something like that, right?
Close to it, if not over.
Well, hopefully Big E can come back one day because he was amazing. He is amazing, and that group together is incredible. How about Charlotte Flair and Dominic Mysterio tonight? Charlotte Flair, in-ring promo, calls out Rhea Ripley. Rhea doesn't come out right away. It's Dominic Mysterio instead. Says, hey, Queenie, can I call you Queenie, Charlotte Flair? Charlotte says, this is adult time, and you can go get your mommy instead of her hiding behind her boy toy. Dominic Mysterio says Charlotte is jealous because Rhea is the hottest thing in WWE right now. And then he tells Charlotte that she has a nice smile and she should smile more. And Dom says, Mommy is real strong. When she hugs me, she damn near breaks my back. And when she makes sweet, and then Charlotte cuts him off. When she makes sweet love to him? What does she do?
I thought sweet coffee, actually, but okay.
Sweet coffee? He says
coffee.
hug. He goes from hug, and then he goes, when she makes sweet, you think coffee? You go hugs to coffee.
It's a PG
I think he was
show,
going down another road, John. You weren't really catching his drift. What's happening? What?
It's a family show. Like, I wouldn't think that way.
Well, that's why Charlotte cut him off. When she hugs me, she damn near breaks my back. And when she makes sweet love to me, my penis falls off. That's what he was going to say, but he couldn't say it because it's a family show.
She mentioned his penis, I think, later on.
What?
Yeah, didn't she? Like, when she said, like,
no,
she has a boyfriend and, like...
You again misunderstand. Charlotte says, hey, Dominic, I've got a real Latino man at home that calls me mommy with a much thicker accent. She didn't talk about his penis. She said accent. She's talking about Andrade.
Didn't she look kind of low? I thought she looked kind of low when she said that.
Well, she was hinting at, she said much thicker accent because she can't say much thicker penis because she's on Fox. And also, has she seen Dominic Mysterio's penis? How is she to know? Maybe Dominic Mysterio has a giant penis. She doesn't know, right? Unless she does know, which then Andrade's got to start asking himself some questions. Okay. Dominic says that they're both generational superstars and they know what it's like to be better than their fathers. Dominic says, my dad was a lot worse. He was a deadbeat. And Ray, he really messed me up. Dominic says when Rhea beats you, Charlotte, at WrestleMania, you will know that your dad was right and you're just not good enough. Charlotte says, well, I love my dad and I want to wish him an early happy birthday because it's Ric Flair's birthday. Oh, technically right now. Happy birthday to the Nature Boy Ric Flair, 74 years old.
Amazing.
Charlotte says if her dad was there right now, he'd kick Dom's butt. But since he's not here, Charlotte decides to step to him, and she kind of gets in Dominic's face. And then Rhea Ripley finally shows up, gets in Charlotte's face. Dominic pulls her away, though, and they start to leave. Charlotte poses with the belt. Rhea comes back, goes face-to-face with Charlotte. Charlotte kind of laughs in her face, gives her a little kiss. Not an actual kiss, but kind of an air kiss. She's not scared. And that was the face-off. It was mostly a Dominic Mysterio Charlotte Flair promo, and I got to say, I liked it. I thought it was all right.
Wow, okay.
It was interesting to see Charlotte interact with somebody different. And Dominic had a couple lines that were good. It was not bad. It was not bad.
Wow. Okay. I just thought Dom's acting again, it's really bad. Because it's just, he doesn't really play up to it whatsoever. I found his, just his facials completely, it's always the same. I think he actually laughed at a couple of his lines, just seriously, just because he thought they were funny.
Yeah, well, they are. He's got good
Some of
lines.
them were. Some of them were okay. Some of them were kind of crummy. Like, I'm sorry, Ric Flair, who's been divorced 5 times, is a better dad than Rey Mysterio.
Well,
Like,
I think that's the joke.
it's kind of funny, but ridiculous too.
He's like, my dad was much worse. He was a deadbeat. And it's like, what about Ric Flair? I mean, have you seen that guy? What are you talking about? Yeah.
But
was
like you
funny.
said too, this was supposed to be face off between Rhea and Charlotte, and it really wasn't.
Kind of
So
was.
that
They
was kind of
faced off.
oh, that was cheap, to be honest. Like, I wanted the promo back and forth between the two of them. Like, this was okay, but it's not what was like promoted pretty much. So that's what was kind of disappointing.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was one of the highlights of SmackDown. Big night for Dominic Mysterio. Also helped Karrion Kross beat his dad. Karrion Kross beats
That
Rey
made sense.
Mysterio with a cross jacket submission. Dominic, Rey went for the 619, but Scarlett was on the apron. When Rey hit the ropes, Scarlett bumped into the ring. Rey hesitated for a second, but still went for the 619 on Kross. But the referee was distracted by Scarlett in the ring, which allowed Dominic Mysterio to pull Rey out of the ring when he went for that 619. This distracted Rey. Rey got back in the ring, took a forearm to the face, and then the choke there from Kross for the loss. So Kross gets the win back from Rey. Dominic Mysterio gets physically involved in the match. This was the wrestling main event of SmackDown tonight. Dominic got in the ring after the match, pushing and slapping his father, begging him to hit him, saying he's not a man. Hit me, you coward. Rey got in Dominic's face, looked like he was maybe going to hit him, but decided against it and left the ring. Which, as a father, I understand. I mean, no matter how much of a dick and how many times your son hits you, I think it's pretty hard to hit him back. I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine. So I kind of feel for Rey. Although my son is not a dick like Dominic Mysterio. Thank God. Although
So far.
yeah, I mean,
Yep.
Hey, if he was
Never
a
know.
successful WWE superstar, it's not the worst thing that could happen. And Rey gets to wrestle his son at WrestleMania, which is pretty cool. I think that's the match that they're doing. But it's the story makes sense. Like, I like that Rey didn't hit Dominic, even though Dominic is asking for it and he's slapping him and pushing him. Rey's like thinking about it, but he's still not doing it. It makes sense, You're not just gonna go and attack your son, especially if you're a good father and a babyface like Rey Mysterio is, right? Like, Rey's a good guy. Rey's the good guy in this thing. He's not gonna just go beating up his son, even though the crowd is asking for it. Makes me wonder about the crowd. I'm like, come on, Rey, just leave the ring, back away. You don't have to fight your son. The crowd is like, beat him up, Rey. And it's like, all right. They'll probably get to that point, though.
I think it's been established, the crowds mainly are not very family friendly. WWE tries to be, but crowd not so much.
Yeah.
But they really seem to not care about, you're supposed to be on Raw, you're on SmackDown. Like, people just come and go as they please. The whole point of Rey going to SmackDown was to be away from Dominic. And now it's just, well, Dominic will just show up on SmackDown when he feels like it. So I kind of defeated the purpose of him going to SmackDown in the beginning. So, I mean, I guess that's the reason for the match.
Dominic was there with Rhea Ripley, who was there because she's got a match with Charlotte Flair. Makes sense.
Very loosely kind of thing. I mean, Sami was on Raw and SmackDown. It just feels like everyone's just doing whatever they want kind of thing. As long as it fits somewhere, they'll just be there.
WrestleMania season, I guess. Yeah, Sami showing up on Raw didn't make a lot of sense, but I guess he did it to... Sami's just kind of showing up through the crowd like a renegade, So he had to talk to Kevin Owens on Raw. Kevin Owens lives on Raw, so he had to go there to talk to him.
Right. He couldn't come to SmackDown. It's impossible for Kevin to come to SmackDown.
Well, Kevin doesn't work on SmackDown, so why would he be in the building? Like, if Sami wants to address Kevin Owens in the ring face-to-face, he's got to go to Raw to do it because that's where Kevin is, right?
Like, that reasoning makes sense, but still, like, the fact that, and Sami wrestles on Raw too, so it's like, it just feels like they just do whatever they want at this point. I don't know if they're gonna ever have a draft again, because like, what was the point of this? Where people just keep jumping shows? I don't mind this, because like, do we really need like Raw, SmackDown wrestlers? Not so much. Maybe people are more featured on one show more than others, but that's it. We don't really need like this huge separation.
I think you're right, especially if there's one champion.
Exactly.
You know, one set of tag team champions, one world champion.
Let's unify the women's championships.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Question from Guru the Pig says, can you guys foresee Kobe Covington going to the WWE, or is that hype train being derailed? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of demand for Kobe Covington to come to pro wrestling. I'd like to see him get a fight in the UFC sometime soon. I don't know what the deal is there. I know he's got a court case going on with Jorge Masvidal because Masvidal sucker punched him in the street. But I don't think there's a lot of demand from pro wrestling fans for Kobe Covington right now. I don't think people really care about him. He's not a hot name at the moment, right?
I mean, does he really want to right now?
I don't think so.
It doesn't. I mean, maybe one day he'll do it, but it doesn't seem like to be his focus. So
no,
I don't think WWE's like dying to have him right now. So
I think they'd be more interested in getting George St. Pierre, because George St. Pierre is a bigger name, and George St. Pierre is a guy that'll probably be easier to like do business with. You know, like if you tell him go out and do this, he'll do it. You know, if you tell Kobe Covington to go out and do whatever, he might go into business for himself. But George isn't going to wrestle because he doesn't need it. He's too rich. He doesn't need it. He's not going to wrestle. He was there ringside watching the match, but the pay-per-view there, but he's not going to be in the WWE. Cool that he showed up at Elimination Chamber, though. He's not a big pro wrestling guy. I didn't expect him to be there.
Did you see Ariel's comment about Tony? Like, you saw or heard about it? Like, he responded back, I guess, on his show. Ariel Helwani, like, he responded like what he would have said to Tony. He was thinking about first, saying that instead of saying snowman, it's like, oh, you're just trying to sleep with Dana White, which is, you know, very, again, weird comment. Weird. Like, yeah. Like, at first I was like, it's not a big deal. Now it's like, you know, I'm starting to wonder here about Ariel a little bit. Like, that is just very odd kind of thing to say.
I noticed, I saw something like on the broadcast.
I saw that too, if you're talking about it.
What?
The unbiased journalism, whatever Mike Cole said. Look, that was pretty bad.
Yes, Michael Cole introduced Helwani in a certain way. But also, like, he introduced Helwani standing next to George St. Pierre there, and they made it appear as though they were, like, taking in the event together on the broadcast.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're like, there's Ariel Helwani sitting next to George St. Pierre, and they're enjoying the Elimination Chamber, da-da-da. He only showed up for the camera shot, Helwani. He was, like, in the back somewhere. I saw him walk by. He walked right by me. I was like, oh, what's he doing? Where's he going? Are they setting something up? And then he goes and he stands next to George St. Pierre for a bit, and George stood up, and then Helwani left, and I was like, what was that? And then I saw later the clip of Michael Cole introducing Helwani because he said something smart, and then I was like, oh, they made it seem like Helwani was just kind of hanging out in the crowd with George, which was not the case at all. I feel like Helwani was doing that for clout to make it seem like, oh, yeah, I hang out with GSP, but he doesn't. Like, he tries to make it seem like he's all buddy-buddy with George, but he's not. So, like, that's not an accurate depiction, you know? Like, they know each other, but it's not like they're hanging out. That wasn't the case.
But he admitted WWE paid him for that appearance. Like,
yeah.
So,
Well,
Like
yeah. So
again, like
WWE's paying him for appearances, and then he's claiming to be a journalist, and he says, "Oh, well, I don't
not a
cover
wrestler.
pro wrestling. I'm not a pro
Yeah.
wrestling journalist." But it's like, well, you did do like an in-depth interview with Triple H, and then you also did do one with Tony Khan, and you've done one with MJF, and you've done them with CM Punk, and you've kind of like, I don't know what you call that. I don't know what you call that. But, he gave some pretty softball questions to Triple H, didn't ask him about Vince McMahon rape allegations or anything. And, like he kind of skirted around the issues with Triple H. Then with Tony Khan, he's going right at him, asking about Punk, asking about this, asking about that. Tony Khan's like, I'm not going to comment about that. I'm not going to comment about this. And Helwani got mad and then did a whole speech after Tony Khan left about how Tony Khan was this and that. And Helwani now is saying, oh, well, we have footage of Tony Khan that we didn't air that was really bizarre, and it makes Tony Khan look bad. And he's trying to make it seem like we have footage of Tony Khan coked up. You know what I mean? Like, that's what he's kind of alluding to. Like, oh, we have this footage that we didn't air to protect Tony Khan. It's like, do you? Because if you did, at this point, wouldn't you show it? You know what I mean? You can't say, oh, we have this secret footage and we would show it, but we don't want to make Tony Khan look bad. It's like, well, at this point, you're saying he's on coke and he wants to have sex with Dana White. I mean, if you have footage that makes him look bad, why not show it? How bad could it really be? Unless Helwani's there doing coke with him, I don't know why they're not showing what the hell's going on. Right? So all of that stuff is kind of like, well, do you have shit on him or are you just kind of talking? Look, I don't blame him. If WWE was paying me thousands of dollars to appear on their program and they were being real nice to me and Triple H was like, hey, Dave, let's hang out, let's eat some steaks. I'd be like, oh, this is cool. And fuck that Tony Khan. That guy sucks, you know? Triple H, you want to lift weights with me? Cool. Tony Khan is a dick, man. I don't care about him at all. Sure, they paid me. I would do the same thing. But I would tell you, like, look, guys, Triple H is paying me, and I hang out with him, and he's very cool. We lifted weights together. I do my impression. He thinks it's hilarious. You know? Like, I'd be honest. But the thing that I think wrestling fans are upset about with Helwani is that he seems a little dishonest. It seems a little like, oh, I'm getting paid, but what's the problem with that? And, oh, I'm not a journalist, but it's like, well, you're kind of getting access to these guys and you're asking much tougher questions to the AEW guy than to the WWE guy. So people start to wonder, like, well, you're not a journalist, but you're interviewing these guys differently, you know? One guy's getting the kid gloves and the other guy's getting the hard-hitting questions. And when he doesn't answer them, he gets shit on, you know? It's like, well, you know, like we see what's going on here. You know what I'm saying? Like we see, it's like, well, dude, you can't have it both ways. You know, just be real. And he's not real. He's not real. And that's what I've observed throughout the years seeing this guy Helwani in MMA. Is that there's like a public persona and then there's the backstage persona, and like it's very different. He's like he acts like, oh, I'm just a guy, I'm just a cool, nice guy, man of the people, but like when he's off camera, he's not that guy. He's like, very he's a famous MMA journalist in a room of just MMA journalists, and he acts like it. You know what I mean? Like, he's well known, and a lot of the guys that are doing the job, the same job as him, aren't as well known, but they're in the same room doing the same thing, making the same money. Maybe a little less, I don't know. But, like, you could tell he's a little, he's proud of himself, which is fine. But,
I'm just saying, like, I respect, the fact that he worked his way up to where he's at. I respect that a lot. It's just, it's kind of,
I don't fully.
Okay, that's fine. But
you know how much American college costs when you're a Canadian? You know how hard it is to pay for that? when you're a
Very
Canadian? You know how
expensive.
expensive that is? How many guys you know
More
can afford that? Or whose parents can
uh
afford that?
not too many. Not
Right.
too many.
So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like, well, you know, if
Right.
daddy didn't pay his way through some fancy American school, where is he really? You know what I'm saying?
It's part of that.
There's a lot of that.
But
There's a lot of that. I mean, it's a school that just kind of, they produce like sports journalist people. They churn them out. And if you could afford to go there, I mean, good for you, I guess. But, if daddy's not paying for it, I don't know how famous he is right now. Just saying.
Well, I'm just looking at it in the sense of like, everyone's going to have their own views in wrestling, likes and dislikes, and he clearly is favoring WWE over AEW. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but when you're getting paid by WWE and you're super vocal about, well, clearly everybody knows WWE is better, it's like, well, if you're getting paid by them.
Well,
Come
because
on.
I'm sure a lot of people see Meltzer the same way. They see him as more of like a pro AEW kind of person. So,
God, what a terrible question, Guru the Pig. Is Ariel the top Jew? He's not even the top Jew named Ariel that I know. How about that? He's not even the top Jew named Ariel. He's not even the top Jew named Ariel from Montreal that I know. Because I know another one, and he's much more top Jew than Helwani. Helfer, my boy Ariel Helfer. Much, much more top Jew than Helwani. Shout out to the big youngster. And I am top Jew. Everybody knows I am top Jew. Me. Or MJF, the Mensch of the Cinch. I love that. That's the best. MJF called himself the Mensch of the Cinch. And I damn near pissed my pants laughing. That was the best. But no, Guru the Pig. Helwani is not top Jew. I am top Jew. Or my man, the big youngster. Or my man, MJF, a.k.a. Mensch of the Cinch. I'd say probably MJF is top Jew. If I'm going to do a survey of the top Jews going right now, and as a Jewish man, I feel like I am an authority, I'm going to say MJF, my Mensch of the Cinch. Lauren, out in Côte St. Luc, what do you say, my friend? What was it, Purim next week, no? I believe Purim is the day after AEW Revolution. So get ready,
have the calendar,
baby.
no?
Huh? Yeah. I believe Purim is the 5th or the 6th of March. So get ready, my Jewish friends, for Purim. Get those Hamantaschen ready. Hamantaschen. John, you ever had a Hamantaschen?
I don't believe so.
See, John is clearly not top Jew. Never had a Hamantaschen. Doesn't even know what it is. I grew up watching WWF and haven't been into WWE ever. That's strange. The name change completely took you off there. What name do you guys like better, and do you have great memories from WWF? I like WWF better. The World Wrestling Federation always sounded better to me. And yes, I have great memories from the WWF. Mostly Hulk Hogan. Bullshit, Hulk Hogan. What?
I'll say mostly Bret Hart, because Bret Hart mainly wrestled in the WWF era.
Oh, that's a new generation, John.
Still WWF era.
I like to rock and wrestle.
I like new generation.
What's the best WWF era? New generation, attitude, or rock and wrestling?
I think attitude is fair to say, because Bret was still a part of the attitude era.
More money in rock and wrestling. Rock and wrestling started it all. Without rock and wrestling, there's nothing after that.
Fine, but you say more money, but Austin was the highest selling merch guy, so there was actually more money in the attitude era.
Yeah, but Hogan created wrestling.
Fine, there's a start point to everything, but attitude era is where it's peaked.
I don't know.
Eddie who?
Eddie Creechman. He used to be a manager in Montreal wrestling scene. I wouldn't say he is top Jew, but he's up there. I got to say it's MJF right now. He's got to be the top Jewish professional wrestler of all time. I'm going to put him, because we really haven't had like great, representations. Goldberg, that was something. It was surprising. When I first saw Goldberg, I was like, that guy's Jewish? And now when I see Goldberg, I was like, oh, yeah. He looks more Jewish now. I think he's off the gas, so it's just he just looks more human. Maybe that's what it is. He just looks more like a human being, and he happens to be a Jewish human being, so it just looks more like that. Because he used to look like a monster. You know what I mean? Like in 1997, Bill Goldberg was just a freak of nature on all the steroids.
He looked like a football player, pretty much.
Yeah, but come on. Yeah. All right. I don't want to talk about all this nonsense here, Guru the Pig. We're good. We're done. We're way done. John?
Wait,
what?
Actually, no, we got one more thing.
What?
Like you heard about Jeff Hardy? You heard about Jeff Hardy, right? No?
He's out of rehab?
Well, I guess he's got his license suspended for 10 years, but he's not going to do jail time. I don't know if you got all the details about that.
Oh, that's
or not,
good.
Or...
Okay. 3-year probation. And they took his license away for 3 years, you said?
10 years.
10 years. So you can't drive for 10 years.
Right.
Wow.
And then he'll be on probation for a long time. But he won't do jail time, so that's a huge thing for him.
What was the latest offense for? What did he do this time? Was it just drinking and driving, or?
Yeah. But still, that's what, his third, fourth?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's enough.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully he's got his life together and things will go well for Jeff Hardy. I don't need to see him back in a ring ever again.
I think he'll wrestle again.
I think he probably will, but just, he doesn't need to.
No, but he wants to. And I think people want to see him wrestle, so I think he can get, his act together.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I think he can still add to the business, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, he's a super talented guy. I just think maybe he just needs to retire and live a quiet life at this point. He's been through the ringer.
Well, the fact that he won't be driving, someone's going to be driving for him all the time. Someone's always going to be watching him, in a sense, so I think that's going to help a lot, too. Plus, rehab he's been going to.
And it's tough for somebody to be watching you 24/7 on the road.
It's hard. Well, that's the way it's got to be now, so.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know. I would stay off the road if I were Jeff Hardy. Just kind of wind the career down. What's the point? He's made enough money. I hope.
I mean, he's also got a band, too, so.
Yeah. All right. John, your next match, when can people see you in the ring?
It's actually going to be during the day of AEW Revolution. Be in the main event of that show. March 5th in Laval, 1000 Boulevard d'Avenir. Bell time 4 p.m. It's going to be me and my tag partner, York, against Savage Paulson and Drew Onyx. It's the tag team main event of the show. There
you go. Follow John for more info at North Genesis on Twitter, at Genesis Johnny North on Instagram. You can follow me at Dave Simon MMA on all the things. Join.ringsidereport.net is what you need to do if you want to become a member. Join.ringsidereport.net. $5 a month supports the Ringside Report Network and keeps you in our good graces, just like our buddy. We have so many buddies that are dropping in and out of the chat, and I definitely want to give a shout-out to... Who am I giving a shout-out? Grimskull. There you go, Grimskull. I wasn't finding... there it is. Grimskull for the Super Chat. You are the Super Chat leader of the night. Thank you very much. And to everybody else tuning in live or on the replay. I know John doesn't show love to the replay people, but I do. I'm here for you, okay? Not just the live viewers. podcast viewers or listeners, I guess. You're not viewing on the podcast, but you know what I mean. There's a podcast,
I do.
all right? This show is available in an
to
audio-only form, not just on a YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter video, all right? All right.
I like to listen to the podcast a lot afterwards. Like the difference. Like obviously I live the YouTube experience, so
You live it.
it's nice to listen back to the podcast afterwards, see how it sounds. Still sounds good.
Do you do that?
Like I did that for the last episode, just to see how it sounded like. Because I'm obviously again like I live it, right? But
Wow.
to see how it comes out on podcasts, it's also kind of different.
When we are done with the show, I am done with the show and I move on and I completely forget that it ever happened.
Well, that's what happens when you do so many shows a week. I mean, I do
Yes.
one show a week. You do 3,
Oh, yeah.
potentially 4 shows next week.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Have fun.
I'll be back here Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Ringside Report MMA. We're going to be previewing the John Jones Cyril Gane fight. John Jones is coming back to the UFC. He's going to be fighting Cyril Gane for the UFC Heavyweight Championship, UFC 285, coming up next Saturday night. It's going to be massive, and we'll start the preview coming up on Thursday at 8 p.m. Every Thursday at 8, every Friday at 10, and then after every WWE and AEW pay-per-view, we are here. And, of course, watching every UFC pay-per-view with you, the UFC pay-per-view watch-alongs right here on the Ringside Report Network.
Please join in and give your support to Ringside Report Network. We've been providing expert coverage and commentary on both pro wrestling and MMA for over 15 years. Go to ringsidereport.net/support to find out more ways to support the channel.